Hi guys, so I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube and I've seen this particular video and I want to react to it and give my opinion on the same. Okay guys, so let's get straight to the video. I hope my audio is clear. This is the first time I'm reacting to a video and using my screen record to do it. Alright, let's get to it. Let's see how it goes. So I'll put this on full screen because I'm gonna post it on the tube later. And let's listen. So the topic of the video is Dr. Turek, would you kill your family? Cody strikes again.
Dr. Turek, I'm only asking if you would murder your wife or children to prove your devotion. It's a simple question.
I don't know what would happen. And by the way, when God decides that someone should die, it's not murder for him.
Dr. Turek, God commanded you to murder your wife or children to prove your faith in God. Is your current devotion not enough to prove your faith? Must you murder your children as Abraham was instructed?
First of all, I don't know what I would do.
This is a simple yes or no question, Doc.
I don't know what I would do in Abraham's position. That's a good question. You know who really struggled with that? Soren Kierkegaard, who wrote a book.
All right, so let me jump right quick here at the beginning. When you're looking at the story of Abraham and Isaac, and of God asking Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, at least two issues arise from these stories. One is that was God immoral in asking Abraham to sacrifice his son? Two is that was it necessary at all for God to ask this of Abraham? So let's start with the first question. Was God immoral? The right way of asking this question is to rather ask this second question. Is it immoral to ask another person to do an immoral thing? So murder is universally accepted as an immoral act, both by the theist and the non-theist. So the question is asking another person to murder wrong? Consider this example. Say you had a friend and you wanted to test whether that friend was loyal to you. So you ask the friend to steal a colleague's book. Alright? So why are you wrong by asking the friend to steal the colleague's book? Given that we know that stealing is generally accepted as a wrong act, and without a doubt, and I think you'll agree with me, is that this is an immoral act. Asking a person to steal another person's item is immoral. So the question then comes in, was God immoral in asking Abraham to do a wrong thing? So whenever I discuss this issue with people, I usually get a line of defense, and I will just address it here because I've seen Dr. Turek also uses this line of defense later on in the video. So the defense usually is that murder to God isn't murder from our perspective. Murder to God is rather a repossession of life which he gave you in the first place. So God is the creator and the giver of life. So what he does is that he simply takes what is his. Or another way that people paraphrase this is that murder isn't murder to God as we say it, and God sees murder as a transition from one form of life to another. So regardless of whether I accept these two as valid argument on their own, they are not valid defenses for the question that is raised. The question that is raised is not whether God murdering is wrong or not. The question that is raised is whether God asking another person to murder is wrong or right, when murdering for this person is wrong. Okay? So I'll leave that question with you. Think about it. So the second issue that arises from the story is, was it necessary for God to ask this of Abraham at all? One of the attributes of God, at least in the Abrahamic religion, or in this case in the Christian God, is omniscience, which means that he knows all past events, knows all current events, and knows all future events. So God already knew, based on this assumption, or based on this attribute, that Abraham would agree to sacrifice his son to prove his devotion to him. So if the plan was to stop Abraham later on and provide an animal for in place of the son for the sacrifice, then was it necessary at all to put Abraham through this test, which, according with regard to the first question that we asked, could be interpreted as immoral? Okay, so think about those two questions. Let's continue with the video.
Book called
Is your faith strong enough to murder your
hold
own
on,
children
Cody,
or
I'm
wife?
thinking, and since I'm from New Jersey, it's really hard for me to do. So give me a minute. The book is called Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. So I don't know what I would do, just like I'm never going to say if somebody put a gun to my head or a gun to my wife's head, what would you do? Because Peter tried that. I'll never deny you, Lord. And what did he do?
He denied him 3
Denied.
times. Yes,
Yeah.
at the
So,
crucifixion.
I don't know what I would do, okay? But let me point out, if your friend is an atheist, there's nothing wrong with God doing anything, because by atheism, there's no standard of right and wrong anyway. So in order for you to bring up the objection, you're actually stealing a standard from God in order to try and say God doesn't exist.
So here again, Dr. Turek brings up an argument that isn't part of the discussion. He brings up the moral argument, which purports that there is objective morality and subjective morality. And objective morality is classically defined as morality that is independent of human beings, i.e., that something would be bad even if human beings didn't exist. For example, take this example, that rape would be bad even if human beings didn't exist. And then there is subjective morality that is dependent on human beings' opinion. So even if the moral argument was part of the question raised by Cody, still it is wrong to say that if atheism is true, then we cannot judge anything that God does. Basically, if atheism is true, then we can't judge good and bad. Atheism can be true and still judge things as good and bad based on subjective morality. Take this example. If we have a universally accepted subjective morality, we can treat it as an objective truth. For example, let's say we all let's not say we all perceive pain as bad, and based on that we think we ought to do things that cause less pain and avoid things that cause more pain, and we describe things that cause more pain as bad. So if everyone experiences pain as bad, then we can say that things that cause pain are bad. And because everyone agrees with this subjective opinion of each and every person on earth, then we can treat that statement that things that cause pain are bad as an objective truth. If still this isn't sinking in, let me give another example. Let's take a perfume that everyone agrees that it smells nice. So The perfume, we agree that everyone agrees that the perfume smells nice. We can take it as an objective truth to say that the perfume smells nice, though it's a subjective opinion of everyone in the world. So universally accepted subjective morality can be used to judge between right and wrong, good and bad, even if atheism is true. And I'm not saying atheism is true, but I'm saying, for the sake of intellectual honesty, that atheists can judge between good and bad. Let's continue.
Dr. Tarek, I'm only asking if you would murder your wife or children to prove your devotion. It's a simple question.
I don't know what would happen. And by the way, when God decides that someone should die, it's not murder for him. Because God kills all of us at some point. And he's the only one that can resurrect us. So we don't have the right to murder people, but God has the right to kill people anytime he wants. He can strike me down today, tomorrow, anytime he wants, and it's completely in his prerogative.
God has.
So the question really is a tricky one, because, and the question, I have to agree with the person asking that the question is really a yes or no question. Would you murder your wife or kids to prove your devotion to God? But I'll leave that question for you to answer as the viewer. What do you think you would do? But again, Dr. Turek brings in an argument that I've already tackled, the defense that is attacking a point that isn't usually raised by the question if God is immoral. So let's continue.
Has the right to slaughter the Amalekites down to the last man, woman, and child.
God has the right to take us out anytime we want, because if Christianity's true, men don't really die, we just change location. And God can do that anytime he wants. So thank you for your question.
It is stunning to me that massacre and genocide gets applaud in this building. God
Cody,
demands slaughter, massacre, and genocide.
All right, Cody, there's nothing wrong with genocide if atheism's true.
Are you serious?
If atheism...
That is not true. And we have already discussed that atheism can be true and genocide be wrong, based on universal subjective morality. And I'm not saying atheism is true, but I'm saying atheism can be true and genocide be bad. So that is not true.
Atheism's true. There is nothing wrong with genocide.
I am an atheist and I oppose genocide in every possible, in every way.
But that's just your personal opinion, because there's no standard beyond you which says it's wrong.
The standard that says it's correct, that I will help my fellow human, up to and including you, especially you, doctor, that I would never harm anyone in this room.
Okay, I'm glad.
Atheism. Are you suggesting that atheism allows or purports or wants genocide? I know you wouldn't say. You would never say that.
Yes, atheism does allow it. You can ask Mao. You can ask Stalin. You can ask Pol Pot. Because if there is no authority beyond the government, they are God.
I cannot possibly.
So I'm not sure who these people are, and I think I'm going to have to look for their works and read and see how, if they are atheists, how they explain that atheism allows for genocide, and if they are theists, how they justify the argument that atheist actually allows or doesn't classify genocide as bad. Okay.
Possibly agree. I could not possibly disagree that those people were atheists. But as Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens would both argue, as you well know, none of those people slaughtered millions in the name of atheism. There are countless millions.
All right, Cody, this isn't a debate, okay?
I know.
I thank you for being here.
Doc.
But let me.
All right, so I'm gonna stop there. I will link the video in my description. You can watch the whole of it. And I acknowledge that I could have made a lot of logical errors. So if you think any of my arguments were false, let me know in the comment section. If you think that my arguments were correct, then give a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section as well. If I've changed your mind, then stick around for more videos, because I'll be reacting to more videos and giving my opinions on it. Alright guys, see you in the next one.